we live in our property. So I just came here to thank you for the Cal vans very much.
Do residents from all of your different properties get access to them?
Yeah, we'll have them located throughout our properties, 2 at our Westview, 2 at our new Valentine Road, and others spread around, and they'll be accessible to all of our residents.
Awesome. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'm sorry. Okay. All right, and then our next public speaker is Maricela Pardo.
It's a little high for me. Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
With the Ventura County Area Agency on Aging Human Services Agency, and we are very grateful for the funding, given with Ventura County Transportation Commission for our clients. We serve the aging and elderly population, and this funding helps us, aid our clients with their transportation needs to their non-urgent medical transportation needs, just to rely on these services to continue being self-sufficient out in the community. So we are grateful for the partnership, and thank you for the continued funding for our agency. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pardo. Any other public comments this morning? See none. Okay. Commissioner Roberts, Caltrans report.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Levier, Commissioners, and Director Erickson. Just wanted to provide a few updates, but first of all, to thank Supervisor Parvin and Mayor Enegren for calling in at the CTC meeting in October because the construction allocation for the Oreo Simi barrier fence did get approved. And so we're looking forward to advertising the contract next month, and then we're looking at proceeding to start construction in the spring of 2025 at the latest. And also, we wanted to offer our congratulations to the City of Oxnard for the award of the contract for the Rice Avenue grade separation. And so these two projects are just really emblematic of the partnership that it takes to move projects forward. Sometimes some issues and projects do take years in the making, but because of the commitment that we have from VCTC and all of the elected officials in the county that we're able to move forward with these important transportation improvements. So I do thank all of you for working along with Caltrans to move these things and get it done. So for our director's orders and emergency work, I'm proud to say that for Ven 33, that all of the storms, this is from storm damage from late 2023, and that we're able to complete most of the work by the end of this year, 2024. So the last portion, which is post miles 23 to 27, we have one remaining soldier pile wall plus slope repair that needs to be finished, but the rest of Ven 33 will be completed by the end of 2024. And then the emergency work for the SR 150 will be completed in the spring of 2025. And so, again, appreciate the partnership and the patience in working with your communities on these, on all of our projects. I also wanted to point out that you take special attention to the information that's in the Caltrans report about upcoming grant application deadlines for some of our SB1 funding, as well as the notice of federal opportunity funding, the NOFOs that are coming out for federal grants. And there's several opportunities that are coming up in November and December of 2024. So, of course, we have our Office of Investment Strategies and Grants and Local Assistance within Caltrans District 7 for any work that you would like for us to help you with the grant applications or for to review opportunities for letters of support or partnership. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Commissioner Roberts? Okay, thank you. Next is our Executive Director's report, Mr. Erickson. Sorry, I'm way off today. We're going to Commissioner reports. Any of my colleagues have comments this morning or reports? Okay, Mr. Erickson, Now it's your turn.
Thank you, Chair Levere. Commissioners, good morning. A happy November 1st. As the chair noted, I hope everyone's coming off their sugar highs. I know in my neighborhood in Ventura, I passed out nearly 20 pounds of candy last night, and I barely had a break. So, but it was a fun event. Fun to see a lot of costumes out there, and just a lot of public spiritedness in the community. And hopefully not too many Yankee fans in the house, but how about those Dodgers? And I believe a parade is I think underway or about to start today in Los Angeles also. So hopefully that will be a successful parade without too much traffic. But thinking of my colleagues in Metro and Caltrans District 7 for the traffic that may be presenting itself there. Before I start my executive director's report, I wanted to take a minute and introduce the new County Public Works Director, Greg Strokalus. Do you mind, Greg, if you just want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Greg Strokalus, Ventura County Public Works Director.
Thank you. Welcome, Greg. We look forward to working with you. Several of my team members will be working with you closely, and our partnership with the County of Ventura, like with all our cities, is critical. As I say every time, I don't think it can be repeated too much. VCTC success is based on our partnerships, especially our long-term trust partnerships. And I'll maintain that if you have long-term trust partnerships with individuals or agencies, sky's the limit. You can accomplish great things. I have an executive director's report which you've received. As I noted in my email, it really kind of encapsulates what VCTC is about, from road repair to airports to trains. We really cover all the different mobility angles. Next slide. A year ago, you might remember, we were able to reach a resolution on the rail car storage challenges we were having in the Santa Clara Valley, in Fillmore. That was a great relief, and I'm happy to report today that we're making further progress on the Sespe Creek Rail Bridge, which was damaged in both the January original storm and then a subsequent storm, and the emergency repair work was just completed. In this photo, you can see before of the storm, you can see part of the old rail bridge was just hanging there, quite dangerously, and lack of protection, on the side. So you can see now that dangerous hanging portion has been removed. You can see the added rocks and added emergency repair work that was done. This also will protect Old Telegraph Road Bridge, which you can see is right next to it. And this follows the county's work to fortify that area too, in the event of, we don't know what the storm season is going to be coming up, but we're at least now prepared if we get another very wet season, that will help us move toward the construction and rehabilitation of the bridge. Just want to acknowledge Amanda Fagan of my team and her staff, and the multiple consultants we're working with, Rail Pros and others. I know all of you who've worked with these projects. It's kind of the alphabet soup of regulatory agencies we're also dealing with, from Fish and Game to just about everyone else in between. But I'm happy to report that process is going forward. Next slide. As you can see from my report, we had a very active October, many different conferences and events. Here's a couple photos from the Central Coast Sustainability Summit that took place October 16th at UC Santa Barbara. So I'm the gauchos in the house. I want to acknowledge that. Amanda Fagan, Peter DeHaan, Claire Grasty participated, and really focused on Ventura County's activities, VCTC's activities towards sustainability, keeping Ventura County moving. Things like our Youth Ride Free and College Ride program, which I will say, as a proud gaucho, I still run into students all the time who've been using our Coastal Express service to get from living in Ventura County to being a student at UC Santa Barbara. And at the moment, that service for Ventura County residents is covered under our College Ride program. You know, as you know, we had to take a deep breath and really get through the state budget this year to keep both the College Ride program going and our Youth Ride Free program going. Arguably our two most successful programs. That's funded through a state LC TOP grant. There was some uncertainty with the state budget switching from $100 million surplus to a $60 billion deficit, whether we could continue that program. And again, I want to acknowledge my team for really working easily. It could have been one of those things where we just said, you know, there's too much uncertainty, too much risk here. Maybe we'll just cut the program or minimize it, but we found a way to keep it going, and we're already looking at next year's potential challenges, but also looking at different sources of funding so we can hopefully keep these two programs going forward. Next slide, I think that's it. I just wanted to cover a couple more items that I have on the Executive Director's Report. Director of Programming, Peter DeHaan, and I attended the Princeton Avenue Safety Improvement Celebration in the city of Moorpark on October 14th. This is really, I think, a critical kind of before and after type situation. You had a road that was just dangerous for cars, for bicycles, for everything. And now with the improvements through there, it is a much better place. You all hopefully saw the front the story in the Star where Mayor Enegren was featured on his scooter with his son. My favorite transportation pictures of the year. And Commissioner Parvin was also there at that event. Had some great shaved ice and a fun event all around. And finally, we have Veterans Day coming up November 11th, as has been the tradition for many years now. VCTC Intercity, along with all of Ventura County's operators, Gold Coast and everyone else, will be offering free rides on that day to honor our veterans. And with that, I'm open to any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Erickson. Any questions on the report? Okay, great. Would any of my colleagues like to add or revise the agenda that was posted? See none, then we will proceed as posted. And that takes us to our consent calendar, 9 items, 9A through 9I. Would any of my colleagues like to ask questions or pull an item? Commissioner White? 9I. You want to pull 9I? Here.
You just have to hold, sorry, turn the microphones on, just hold down the button until it turns green.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank Amanda for all the information that she's sharing with us. Many of us who use bicycles are very anxious about this process, and I know it's been going on for, I don't know, longer than I've been born, I think. But it's the situation these days is just getting information out to people, and the different clubs that I ride with, and the different people that are always asking questions, I always have an answer for them. So I want to thank Amanda for having a monthly summary of what's going on with that process. So thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or requests? Then we can take action on the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Okay, first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed or any abstentions? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. And now we can go to our discussion calendar, beginning with item 10, which is an update from Gold Coast Transit District regarding the hydrogen fueling station. Morning, Mr. Beck.
Thank you, Chair Levere. I'll just introduce this item quickly as Mr. Beck gets situated there. A few months ago, Vice Chair Judge had asked that we get an update on what's happening with our hydrogen fueling operations. And as the former transit director, I couldn't help but get involved in get in these projects also, although Claire Grasty has been doing an amazing job as transit director for the last 3 years. But I had the pleasure of working with Jim Beck for many years now at Gold Coast Transit. And this is an exciting time. All of you know we are transitioning, we are decarbonizing the transportation universe of mobility, and it's not an easy task. I think that we collectively in Ventura County have been pursuing a prudent path, a prudent, successful path. And touching on the issue of partnerships one more time, I think this is illustrative of a key example of agencies working together on issues like hydrogen fuel cell buses for a lot of reasons, but a couple of them are they're very expensive. The technology is still very new, and what happens in a lot of places is each agency will say, we're doing our own thing. We're doing this or we're doing that, and oftentimes, I say oftentimes because that's been kind of the story of California right now, that's led to some challenges. You have agencies that have gotten a little too far ahead of what they're ready for, and sadly, that really affects the transit rider, who are riders who are dependent on the service at the end of the day. So I'm grateful for our partnership with Gold Coast, with Vanessa Rauschenberger, with Jim, the Gold Coast board, that we work very closely together, whether it's through disasters, through funding challenges. We have that partnership, and we've kept our services running as well as they can be. So with that, Jim, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin. Good morning, everyone, members of the VCTC staff and commissioners. My name's James Beck, Director of Operations and Maintenance at Gold Coast Transit. For you from the East County, we're located right over here in Oxnard off of Auto Center Drive. And I'll be speaking on the hydrogen station project we have going and give you a little idea of how we got there. So as I said, we're located in Oxnard, California, right down the street here. In our mission statement, serving, moving, connecting people to opportunity, one ride at a time. We definitely at Gold Coast, we think about the rider, and as Martin said, as we go through this process of transitioning to zero emissions, very important for us to maintain that service to our customers. We do really approach it from our general manager down to our bus operators. We really take pride in making everyone's customer experience a good one. And as you see in the vision statement there, clean air is a very important part of what we do. We started our zero emissions journey quite a few years ago in 2018, but first I want to give you an update on our team. So here's an organizational chart. At the top there you see our general manager, Vanessa Rauschenberger, very engaged general manager. She could probably speak on this subject almost as good as me, I think. And I would think that some of our members of our board here are very informed as well on our progress towards hydrogen fuel cell technology. As you see in the left part of the chart there down towards me, we've just taken our paratransit service in-house. So we have over 40 new employees, and I think it's really good for us to do that. We're going to really be able to put our touch on our 88 paratransit service. So what got us here? The California Air Resources Board ICT rule, which is the Innovative Clean Transit Rule. And what that is basically the Air Resources Board says, you are going to transition. They're not asking us, they are telling us. So we started this journey, and under Vanessa's leadership, I think we've got a good start on what we're doing. We have, in 2026, we need to have one of 4 buses or 25% of any vehicles bought zero emissions buses. We've done, I'll show you down the line here, we've done extensive studies, as also VCTC has with a company called Stantec. But as we roll through this, we have lots of challenges, and I'll highlight those for you as well. But in 2029, 100% of our buses will have to be zero emissions. And this is a big task for us because right now we're running CNG buses, very clean. We started those in 2000, or right around the year 2000, so we've been running CNG, which is a very clean technology. And throughout the country, many agencies are transferring to CNG now, kind of like we're going to zero emissions, so that we really have a good grasp on what we're doing with the technology. So our road to zero emissions, in 2018, our board adopted a near zero emissions strategy for our fleet. We have done several items in that. Right away, we put in some near zero engines in our buses, did a engine replacement plan, and as we moved down the line, we put our first zero emissions cars into our fleet. We bought 9 Nissan Leafs, which have done a real good job for us for delivering our bus operators to our buses mid-route. If you're gonna buy a car, I would recommend the Leaf. They've been very good to us. We've had them for 4 or 5 years and just had a few problems with them. So first of all, as we go through this, we did do a study with Stantec, a fuel technology comparison. As you see on the left there, we compared battery electric and to the right fuel cell buses in different categories. Both technologies did come in as a good technology, but definitely hydrogen fuel cell checked more boxes for us as a technology. And I'll go through a few of the areas that gave us the reasons for making our choice. So as you see on the right there, hydrogen fuel cell got 3 stars from Stantec. They made the recommendation to myself and our management team, and then we took that to the board and they accepted that. So that's the path we've chosen. And that doesn't mean, this is a very fluid situation with technology. That doesn't mean that they're gonna come up with a battery electric bus that has better range, and maybe we would incorporate some of that into our fleet. But right now we're looking at a hydrogen fuel cell fleet in the future. The reasons for that, as you see on the right-hand side, is a 1-for-1 bus exchange into your fleet. Like Martin said, these buses are probably $500,000 more than our CNG buses right now. So if you have a battery electric bus, which doesn't get the kind of mileage you need, you might need 1.3, 1.4 buses to make the route, your longer routes. That doesn't do it. It not only takes more staff time and affects customer service, in my opinion, as well, many more chances to disrupt service, but very important for us to be able to pull a bus out of our yard and pull it back in without having to replace it in the field. The big one is fueling time as well. Right now we're at CNG. We pull up a bus to our fueling station, 7 to 10 minutes. The bus is fueled, parked, and ready to go the next morning. Hydrogen, the Same will be for our service workers. We'll be able to pull up the bus, fill it with the hydrogen fuel, and park the bus. We don't have to worry about plugging it in. Did it get plugged in correctly? Did the power go out overnight? Can we back up that power with enough backup generation to make us resilient if we do lose power or if there's an emergency? And also on the left there, 3 to 340 miles. None of our routes are even close to that. So move to the next slide. So just a little introduction to what a hydrogen fuel cell bus is. If any of you want to get into the weeds, I'll give you my card after the meeting, but I'm just going to give you a little introduction to what a fuel cell is. So up on the top there, you see that green arrow going into a fuel cell, and below that is where the fuel cell is located in the bus. But basically, the hydrogen goes into this fuel cell. There's a chemical reaction, and the byproduct of that is water. If you see a fuel cell bus sitting, within 20 minutes, half hour, there'll be a puddle of water underneath it. And that's from the chemical reaction in the fuel cell. So this is the magic right here. The fuel cell creates a small electrical current which charges the batteries. And this is something that you need to know as well as far as a fuel cell bus. A fuel cell bus is exactly like an electric bus. It just has a smaller battery pack. And what the fuel cell does is charge that battery pack as you're going down the road. But from the batteries down to the wheels, exactly the same. So that's the process right there, and that electrical current is harnessed and put into the battery pack, which lets you go a lot farther than just charging a battery electric bus and going out and watch the needle go down and down and down. And then you get what they call range anxiety when it gets down to 15, 20%. I don't think we'll be having that with hydrogen fuel cell buses. So this is a chart I got from the Center of Transportation and Environment. As you see on the left there, the upfront cost for hydrogen fuel cell buses is the infrastructure. Thank God we got Matt Miller here, who wrote a nice grant for us. I worked on the technical side, and we secured a very large loan for that upfront cost. And as we add buses to our fleet, we'll see that cost go down. With battery electric, you could put in a few chargers and have your buses there and charge them, but as you add more buses, that increasingly gets higher along with the electric costs that go along with that. I promise you Southern California Edison will not give you a break on your energy bill. That much I promise. So those rates I only see going up. But as you see on the right-hand side, there's a $sign with those arrows. Right now, this is a very new technology, and the government believes in it. They've given a lot of money, but it's in its infant stages right now as far as the fuel supply part of the equation. So as I said, in 2022, Matt and myself got in on writing a grant, and you know, it's very nice when you're applying for a grant, but then all of a sudden you have $12 million and you got to go to work. So we kind of have been doing that the last year and a half. We've been working with the Center of Transportation and Environment and New Flyer on getting this project going. So as part of that Low-No grant, we have our hydrogen fueling station design build, 5 hydrogen fuel cell buses, workforce training, which is very important, and then facility upgrades, which isn't a bad one for us because we already have gas detection systems within our facility. So basically we daisy chain off those or connect onto those with a different sensor, and the system will work. So collaboration within the industry. I'm very in touch with some of the pioneers of hydrogen fuel cell technology. That would be Sunline Transit, AC Transit, Orange County Transit, Foothill, and Golden Empire Transit. I can't say enough about the willingness of people in transit to share information. It's a great industry, and it's not competitive, it's collaborative, and that's what I love about transit. So here's our footprint for where our new hydrogen station will go. That square at the top, that's gray, that's our existing fueling station. And in the black is where we're proposing to put our hydrogen fueling station. We are in probably our last week of negotiations with our chosen vendor. So I'm very excited. The process of getting there and the back and forth with the vendor is very painstaking for me. I'm a nuts and bolts guy. I want to start building, and so I'm very excited to get past that aspect of the project and getting into building. So basically, this station is just like the station to the right. If you see those three white our existing CNG compressors, and in this format, we'll have three more compressors for the hydrogen. The hydrogen will not be piped in like we do with our CNG. It will be delivered in a liquid form. And the station will have vaporizers where they make it into a vapor, and then it'll be compressed and then put into our vehicles. Challenges. There are challenges for sure. And this first challenge, boil off hydrogen, high cost of buses, ongoing facility and bus maintenance, and consistent supply of green energy. For those of you who don't know, there's three types of hydrogen. There's gray hydrogen. That's when they take CNG. I don't know what they do to it, but there's an exhaust that goes up into the air. It's gray. You get the hydrogen, but there's a byproduct. It's not clean. There's also a blue hydrogen, which is made from electricity, and there is no actual byproduct when you're making the hydrogen, but downstream, making that electricity, even here in clean California, 40, 55% of the hydrogen or of the electricity is not clean. So that they call it a blue hydrogen. And the optimum, which the Department of Energy is striving for, would be green hydrogen. That's when you have solar, making the hydrogen, putting it into the bus, no carbon footprint. So that's what we're striving for, and so is the FTA. So I'm gonna address those challenges real quick. So for the boil off, this is something I've just learned in the last year through the collaboration with like Orange County. As you have hydrogen, when the hydrogen is put on a truck and delivered to Gold Coast, there will be a certain amount of hydrogen you need to release because the instability of it. And once that's done and it gets into the tank at Gold Coast, every so often you have to vent some of this product because of the gaseous aspect of it. Now, when I visited Bakersfield, I saw that going off, and I asked the fleet manager, what's going on there? And he goes, those are $100 bills going up into the air. And in conversations I've had, it can make the fuel price go up as much as 20, 30, 35%. So what we have in working with our consultant and our vendor, I've had them look at what they call a bog compressor, which is a boil off gas. So they capture that gas, compress it again, cool it off, and put it into a separate container, which is the first fuel that goes into our buses. So instead of letting all that money go into the air, we capture it and put it into the buses. And as you see there, very high upfront cost, almost $1 million, but I think that in looking at the statistics from the other agencies, it's the only way to go. And Orange County and Foothill are both building new fueling stations, second fueling stations, and both of them will be putting a boil-off compressor. So the high cost of the hydrogen fuel cell buses, I'm grateful that we do have the HFIP program here in California. They'll be giving us about $240,000 a bus. Also, of course, the main part of that was paid for through the grant we received. And thank God we have some older buses with old engines, and we're able to utilize those for the Volkswagen VW Mitigation Trust Funds. So I believe that most of the buses will be paid for in full by grants and those other programs. Facility and bus maintenance. So we have this new technology. Not so much of a stretch for us at Gold Coast because we already work with CNG, high pressure gas. There is a lot of training provided by the who's ever going to build this station, and also by the bus manufacturer. One of the things that we did in our grant, the FTA makes you put 5% of the grant towards education, and I've been in contact with Ventura College and some other people in the county, and we're hoping to make a training consortium with the bulk of that money. It's almost $600,000 we have to maybe collaborate with the community college system so we can get a pipeline of new mechanics that will be able to work with this technology and feel comfortable with this technology. And by the way, that's me on the right there in the safety vest, back in my day. Okay, consistent supply of green hydrogen. This is a big one. The Department of Energy awarded $7 billion, lots of money. Now it's in the infant stages, and I'm hoping that they get some real leadership at the Department of Energy and get these projects off the ground. We are part of a group that 13 agencies that went along with this ARCHES. We're on the ground floor of this green energy. It's called the Alliance for Renewable Clean Hydrogen Energy System, or ARCHES as I know it by. I'm in the working group. Like I say, it's very much in its infant stages, but as this goes on, we're asking ARCHES hopefully to help us out with that bog compressor, and they were looking for them to subsidize until these hydrogen hubs get up in, 2032, I think they're scheduled to come online. That was their best estimate. But until then, they want to subsidize our hydrogen for our project. And as you see, there's the 7 hydrogen hubs with ours down there with the circle. So our timeline, our hydrogen station contract award, hopefully we're going to our board. Some members are here today. We'll be going to that on November 5th, or no, November 6th. 5th is voting. Everybody vote. And early in 2026, we'll be having our hydrogen fuel cell buses delivered. That's probably going to be a little early for the station, but there was going to be another $250,000 or something added on to the price if we extended the delivery date. So to save $500,000, I just said, let's sign the contract, right? We're already into this for a lot of money. So we're looking for the hydrogen station to be complete in April, May, and then start the commissioning at the same time. So that's all I have. If anyone has any questions, I'll take those, or if you would like to in the future come visit us as this project goes on. And I'm kind of a hydrogen geek, so I'll talk to you, call me on the phone, we can Zoom, and I'll give you any information that you want. Thank you.
Thank you, excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Beck. That was a wonderful presentation. Very in depth. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Beck? Commissioner Guerrero?
Thank you, James, for that presentation. I had the opportunity to spend some time at the facility last year at the yard, and it was impressive then. I'm sure it's changed even more since then. The quandary that you were facing then, and you alluded to it now, is that the hydrogen is being brought in by trucks, right? And ultimately the end game is to find a way to have it delivered directly, pipelined into your system. Two questions related to that. Is there was thoughts that hydrogen could move along the lines that already existed, Southern California gas lines, et cetera? What's your prognosis and timeline for not just that, but also the current contract that you're awarding and moving on, I presume is going to set up a system that's configured not just for importation by truck, but also ultimately to be hardwired in so that the molecules can be delivered directly. Is that how everything's set up? Thank you for the
Yeah, there's been talk more in the LA area of trying to put that into pipeline. I was very excited a few years ago to hear that. Kind of went silent in the last year. I haven't heard too much more on that, but that would be the ultimate way of getting the product, definitely. Because delivering it alone, we get what you call clean carbon fuel credits, and at Orange County they can't receive those even though they're using hydrogen, because a diesel truck delivers those. So they add those into the equation, they lose their money. But yeah, I haven't heard too much more on the pipeline. I promise you I'll be retired by then.
Will the system being currently built now be capable of?
Yeah, I would say the inlet of that would be, you would just run that hydrogen source straight into the vaporizers. There would probably have to be some kind of initial containment to where it takes it from whatever form and makes it able to vaporize. I would think that would be doable.
Thank you. Any other, Supervisor Parvin, and then Commissioner Johnson?
I'm not sure if this is working. Okay, good. Question regarding the vendors that you have for the hydrogen station. Are any of them located in California?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Are they all located in California?
The vendors it's a very exclusive group that does the hydrogen fueling stations. The three that we interviewed were Trillium, Clean Energy, and oh my gosh, one other. Can't think of the name. But yeah, they are local. Right now, Clean Energy, who we have selected to build our station, actually they assist with some of our repairs on our current CNG station. So they are, I wouldn't say local as in Ventura County, but as we build the station, we're looking to use local workers to build the station.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Beck. So right now, Gold Coast has the city of Oxnard is using some of our facilities for refueling their fleet with the CNG. Will that be something that could happen in the future with hydrogen?
Yes, and it's actually a better item when we're in our infant stage, when we only have 5 buses. Because of the instability of the hydrogen, you would have more venting. The more you use it, the better. So getting rid of that product for a price would be great. And yes, that we sold over 3,000 gallons this month of fuel to the city of Oxnard for CNG. So their fleet is a cleaner fleet than they've had. So we're contributing as well for providing them with a great place to fuel.
Thank you. And just so everybody understands, the price that we charge, the rate that we charge, matches what their other provider is. What's great about for Gold Coast being able to do it is that our refueling currently is much faster than what they've been doing, and so it works out well. But if I could just make a comment, this was a big topic at the APTA conference, especially among all the Californians, because California is really pushing the envelope on moving towards hydrogen. And as wonderful as that is, the model that the state did was say, well, we got to get infrastructure for it, and so we're just going to require a lot of public transit agencies to make the transition. And it's honestly, I'll tell you what, it's absolutely crazy that Gold Coast, with all the stuff that we have on our plate, needs to do this. That really was a determination made by the state that this is how regional infrastructure would get built. But I just want to thank you, Mr. Beck, for all the work that you've been doing on this, because this is not just a solution for Gold Coast, but this becomes a regional hydrogen station. And it is, again, unfortunate that it's the expectation of, Gold Coast to build these things.
Yeah, and
but it really is meant to be a regional solution.
Yeah, to add on to that, I've had meetings with the Air Resources Board with other agencies, and they're locked in. They are not going to give us an inch of room. That mandate is mandated, and I would appreciate. I know that Vanessa was here, and any help the commission can give with what we're doing there, we'd love that help. Thank you.
Commissioner Renegger?
Yeah, thank you. So you mentioned right now we have clean natural gas, and now we're spending a ton of money to get obviously cleaner hydrogen. And I've always wondered if we just took that money and just bought more clean natural gas buses and expanded the fleet and had less cars on the road, would you see a bigger net loss of carbon in the air?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah. So I should ask that question.
That's what I asked.
I still can't figure out why we do it.
That engine replacement we did, they took a natural gas engine that was very, very clean. It made it 10 times cleaner, and that's what we're running right now. So it's a very good fuel, but I understand California, we're the leader in clean air and clean technology, but it is very hard because, like you say, we've been running natural gas very efficiently, and I think it has a lot to do with the clean air in this county. But yes, point taken. And
yeah, when buses are cleaner than the cars, it's always a question I had. But
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the presentation. It was really good.
Thanks. I have one question. So transit agencies up and down the state are going through this same exercise of fuel cell versus battery. You mentioned several of the larger agencies have chosen fuel cell like us. Have any agencies or large agencies gone the battery route?
LA Metro. And I promise you there will be backtracking on that. They do not have the infrastructure to do that. They do have this because they have sales tax, which we don't have here, which I think they'll be doing a lot of in-route charging. In other words, they pull up to a place and they sit there and get charged. But that takes time, and time is money.
You would think if it looks like everyone is going towards fuel cell and we're all going to need this infrastructure work, that there has to be some kind of plan moving forward regionally to help kind of fund this regional connection, whether as Supervisor Gurrell said with the pipes there. You think moving forward there has to be some kind of state solution to help all of the agencies connect and get the infrastructure.
You're preaching to me there what I've been preaching to the Air Resources Board, to the CTA, and they kind of put the cart before the horse and they leave it on us to find the way there. So we're doing our best to get there, but we need more funding for what we're doing. This is a really a daunting. When I go to Vanessa with these numbers, and we're looking at for 5 buses, $200 or $300, even $400,000 without the help of arches or another thing for just 5 buses for the cost of hydrogen right now. That's going to come down with arches. And like I say, we're on the ground floor with 13 other agencies. We're the smallest agency, but we're going to benefit from that hydrogen hub and getting compensated.
Okay, great. Please, Mr. Crosswhite.
I'm curious, right now there's a lot of grant funding that's coming in to help support these projects. Do you have any sense over time what I know in your image you showed costs going down over time, but do you see the cost of the buses ever going down, or do you think that that's something, I'm just trying to think long-term sustainability. Is there going to have to continue to be an influx of funding to keep running? Because everyone keeps saying we need more people to use public transit, and if the infrastructure costs so much, where does that get covered? So I'm just curious what you're seeing.
That's the question we're asking.
Sustainability.
Beating our heads against the wall asking that, but there is what they call a 1,000 bus initiative, to where we're pooling resources and hopefully going to get New Flyer, who is the only provider right now. Gillig, who most of our buses are, will have a fuel cell bus in the next year and a half or so. But trying to get a large cooperative of agencies together to say, hey, we want to buy 1,000 buses in the next 4 years, and can we get that price down? Because it's not going down. They said it was going to go down when I started this journey, but it's only gone up 30, 40%.
I just want to say there's absolutely no way that the prices for buses are going to go down, especially after all the consolidation that's happened and with these being incredibly high-tech buses. But I just wanted to say, we're not struggling for riders, Director Crosswhite. we have no trouble getting people on the bus. One of the things we just recently had to do was add another tripper bus, a bus that's not on the schedule, just so that we're not leaving people behind because the bus is full. So that's all working out very, very well.
Yes, and I think the slide I showed you was at 3.5 million. I think we're headed more towards 4 in the next year, the way the numbers are coming back. Youth Ride Free, great program. Love it.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, next is item 11. Director Erickson, are you going to kick this off?
Yes, thank you, Chair Levere. Great discussion, previous item. I'm sure we could probably talk a lot longer on that important thing, but Gaisca Velasquez now is going to walk us through what I think sometimes is an item that can kind of fly under the radar a little bit countywide, but as I think the speaker this morning from VCTC noted, thank you for coming and commenting on that. This funding really reaches and touches the most vulnerable in our community in many ways, people who depend upon and need specialized transportation, public transportation, and it's a bit labyrinthal. It's a
Labyrinthine.
Thank you. Well, I don't. My dad was an English professor, so the last time I think that happened was with my dad. But appreciate that. It's I'll use another word: Byzantine, complex federal grant structure that flows down to VCTC as the Transportation Commission to distribute and allocate this funding in a fair way. And overall, especially when I talk to colleagues in different transportation commissions or different parts of the state, I was recently talking to a colleague in Northern California. So MTC up there, the Metropolitan Transportation, they're kind of the very large VCTC equivalent, control lots of money. Oftentimes the relations between MTC and, say, the transit agencies can be tense, putting it mildly. And they asked me, how's it going? How's the controversy going with you and your largest transit operator? And I said, well, actually, we have a great partnership with Gold Coast. And that doesn't happen by accident. I think the fact that Vanessa and I, both in our respective jobs before we ran our agencies work together for 5 years and learn to find solutions to these projects. And what GASCO will present now through the Transcom, through GASCA, Peter's staff, working with the county and all the cities and the agencies, the nonprofit agencies that depend on this money, it's really important. I just wanted to introduce that. Thanks, GASCA.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Levere, Commissioners. I am Gaiska Velasquez, Program Manager in Programming at VCTC, and I will be presenting item 11. So this is a project selection for your approval this morning. We are choosing projects to be funded from 3 different funding types. So I'll quickly go through a couple of those for you just to set the stage before we get into the projects. So the first funding type is a FTA funding. It's Section 5310, and this is for transportation for transit above and beyond what our fixed route, what our regular transit provides, specifically to enhance mobility for seniors and persons with disabilities. VCTC is the direct recipient, so we receive these funds, and then through a public project selection process, we pass through these grants. These are predominantly for it's the preferred provider would be like a nonprofit or something that fills the gaps between the transit that's already available. The second is the Section 5307 or JARC, that is Jobs Access Reverse Commute. So this is the goal is to enhance mobility, to enhance transit options for low to very low income individuals, and initially was to get riders from the inner city to the outer edges, but now we're just trying to get people to jobs whoever they are. So those, again, 2 are direct recipient. VCTC is the direct recipient, and these are for the large urbanized areas, so Oxnard, Ventura, and Thousand Oaks, Moore Park area. The third we're including with this project selection this go round, which wasn't included when I stood before you 2 years ago, is the Access for All program that is administered by the California Public Utilities Commission. We did this actually, I think last year, but we are, VCTC is new as the Local Access Fund Administrator, or the LAFA. And so these are a third set of funds, but this closes the gap for transportation for specifically those in wheelchairs with wheelchair accessible transportation. And since it had such similar goals, we decided to do the 3 together so that we could look at the options as a whole. So this is specifically trying to fill the gap with transportation provided by something like Lyft or Uber. So it's an alternative to that because as anyone in a wheelchair can attest, it's nearly impossible to get Uber or Lyft rides. So that's the origin of that program. So we had a process here. This is not a new program, so we went with best practices from prior years, but basically also took a step back to look and make sure we were doing it the best way possible, and not combining the 3 programs, but combining the call for projects process. So the funds available through 5310, again, for those large urbanized areas, the 5307, and then the CPUC Access for All is actually a county-wide. So it didn't depend on where the origin of the project was. The FTA 5310 allowed a 10% off the top for administration for VCTC, and the Access for All program allows a 15% off the top. So our total available funds for the whole call for projects was just over $4.2 million. So we put the call out. We came to you for guidance and approval to put the call for projects out. We did this through a public process. We also sent direct emails to those we thought would be interested. We did get 9 applicants, nine different organizations applying with 16 individual project applications. And those project applications did total over $5 million in requests. And this is always very difficult because these are all excellent projects, all excellent requests, and they exceeded the available funding by over $2.7 million. So as far as the prioritization process, we did, Transcom appointed a 4-person subcommittee, which included VCTC staff, City of Thousand Oaks staff, Gold Coast staff, sorry, I blanked there for a second. And this year we had the lovely Danny Anderson from the county join us in our project scoring process. We adopted a 100-point scoring criteria. And then all individuals scored individually, and then we aggregated those scores, ranked them by their area, the funding type, and then the score. And our goal is really to fund as many projects as possible and covering as much of the county as possible. So the recommendation before you today is we have 8 selected awardees with 11 of the projects being funded with a total recommendation of $2.4 million. So this is the project selected at this time through the committee. This is all of them together, so with all 3 funding types included. Forgot I had the clicker for a second. Transcom did approve this recommendation on October 9th. And so the request before you today is to approve the programming of the 16 projects through the three funding types of the 5310, 5307, and the Access for All program. I'm happy to take any questions if you have them, or I can go back to anything as well.
Okay, Commissioner Crossway?
I just have one question. What is the one call, one click program that 211 operates in the city of Thousand Oaks? Do we know?
That operates in the city.
Well, it says that there's 122,000 to maintain and continue to develop the one call, one click program, and it says that it's trying to maintain proper mobility it's a mobility management program.
Yes, okay.
But, so what does that look like?
So Interface, the nonprofit Interface operates this program, and it is both a website, so it's 211 Ride, and then also it's a phone line. And so it's basically, it's part of the 211 kind of world, but you can get any travel information. So it is, I think it's called proper mobility management because it is our county's designated mobility management program. So Interface happens to operate this, and again, it is the website or the phone line, and basically you can get any transportation. How do I get from A to B within our county? It is countywide. So I think maybe in the I'm not sure if in the table it was indicated specifically as Thousand Oaks.
It
funding.
was listed under Thousand Oaks.
Okay. So it is technically for that project will be funded with Thousand Oaks area 5310, but it is a countywide project, and they were identified many years ago as kind of the specified agency to provide that service, and they just carry on. And actually, they're getting so efficient. The request this year was a little lower than it has been in the past, but we've been funding this program for many years now.
Okay. I was just curious with all of the other more automated apps and things that are going to be rolled out across the county. I was just trying to kind of understand how that related to sort of all of these other systems that we've been talking about.
And actually, that's a very good point, because what they're doing in this next round is a bit more consolidation and bringing the technology up to make sure that it is that we're not missing anything, or that they're not missing anything in that.
Thank you. Any other questions, Commissioner White?
Thank you, Chair Rivera. And thank you, Jessica, for an amazing report. I've been very fortunate to be involved with the Citizens Transportation Advisory Committee many years ago, and we would put together a lot of information on what's available. Where can we get a bus? Where can we get some help from Ventura County Transportation? And so when this came about, and of course now it continues to go, it affects so many people, especially people that have disabilities, people in wheelchairs. It was really nice to see that Dana got involved with the selection committee, because who knows best on how to get around, and someone who uses the bus all the time. And it's difficult for some of us who maybe don't use the bus very often to see what the needs are. So I was really appreciative that you went ahead and did that. This late night safe ride that's involved, I don't know how many people are aware of that, but you hear about people saying, well, I don't want to take the bus because it's kind of dangerous, you know. This makes a big difference. And I consider it a very minimal amount of money to make such a huge difference for people that will make them feel comfortable in taking the bus, especially late night. So again, I thoroughly approve all the information that was given to us today, and I want to thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Chair Levere, I just wanted to make one quick comment. Thank you, Gaiska, for the presentation. Transcom, I'm pretty sure most commissioners know what Transcom is, but I just want to, for some newer commissioners, it's basically the Transit Advisory Committee that is one of the VCTC staff committees that reviews and makes recommendations to the commission on these types of projects. And Michelle Woomer from the city of Moore Park is the chair of that group right now. So it represents all the cities, all the transit operators, county staff. Years ago, when I was in Oxnard, I served on that committee for the city of Oxnard. In fact, one year I was chair of Transcom and TTAC the same year. I don't know, I think things still worked out okay. But they really do a lot of work. Your staff, your transportation staff, do a lot of work on these committees with my staff. And then having Danny Anderson as part of the review committee also just helps just create a greater level of transparency, and again, the tough decision of you've got almost twice as many projects as money, and we're always going to be trying to get more money to come in to fund those projects, but I just wanted to note that.
All right, any other questions? Thank you so much, Ms. Velasquez. There are 3 recommended actions. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve all 3. Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed or any abstentions? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you again. And that takes us to the last item on our discussion calendar, item 12. Morning, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Chair Levere. I'm going to quickly introduce this item. Matt Miller of our transit team is going to present what I think is going to be another very interesting and important discussion about the progress we continue to make in making transit easier to ride. And just for a little perspective, when I started at VCTC in 2016, we still didn't have fare boxes on all the buses in Ventura County. And since then, we've had a lot of really important technological projects to make riding transit easier. And not to steal any of Matt's presentation, because he knows a lot more about this than I do right now, but Cal ITP, which he's going to mention, is the statewide effort to have basically to make riding transit easier. So you can use a credit card or a phone, or just to make it simpler than it is. And we have really made collectively some great progress at this point. So it's exciting to have Matt fill you in on that.
All right. Well, good morning, commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Matt Miller, the program manager for transit contracts for VCTC. I'm here to talk about open loop transit fare collection, which includes a couple or 3 recommendations of award of contracts for the system itself. And then I'll finish up providing a quick update on our countywide transit technology program. So a little bit of background on this for the open loop project. So SBCAG was awarded $130 million in SCCP funds for projects up and down the 101 corridor. One of those projects was to provide open loop or contactless credit card, debit card readers on the entire VCTC intercity bus fleet. There's $600,000 for that. We're contributing $100,000 in FTA funds as match. The project in over 5 years, we're thinking it's going to cost about $400,000. It's an estimate because a lot of the costs are determined by the use of the system. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we go forward. And just as a reminder, that map to the right is the current VCTC intercity transit system. So we have routes that extend from Goleta in the north, and then we have routes that go all the way to Woodland Hills in the southeast there. We go out to Fillmore and across the whole county. So real quick, Martin mentioned CalITP. It's the California Integrated Travel Project, and we're really leaning heavily on them for their technical assistance. So their main goal is to make it easier to use transit by modernizing the system and providing payment infrastructure for agencies who are interested. So they help agencies implement open loop fare payments by creating an easy way to procure it and implement it. They help agencies establish GTFS data streams, which is needed to update and provide real-time arrival information for buses throughout the state. And then to do all of this, you need data plans, of course, and so they provide access to low-cost data plans. So I'm really stressing the importance of their help throughout this whole system. They're very, very knowledgeable, and we really couldn't do it without them. So what is open loop fare collection? Simply put, it's the ability to pay transit fare using a debit card, a credit card, your Apple Pay, Google Wallet, I think it's called now. The system can allow for the discounts that are available now when you pay cash or with a different method. So ADA senior veteran discounts will be available. And then the system can be configured to introduce other types of discounts like fare capping or some rewards program or things like that. And then not to mention, there is an alternative for those who are unbanked and do not have a bank account. It's something called Cash App. Patrons can download the app, go to a Walgreens, 7-Elevens, Targets, Walmarts, any really a huge network of retailers, and load the Cash App with cash and use it to pay using these readers. So there's 3 elements of the system. There's the fare validators, which is on board. It's where you tap. There's a fare calculation software, which it figures out the fares that patron needs to pay depending on the route. And then that system also can be used to introduce those discounts that I was mentioning before, rewards programs, fare capping, passes, anything like that. And the third element is the payment processor, which is a company that basically allows the transmission of funds between credit cards and banks, and then our bank. Benefits opportunities. So benefits, real easy one is it removes that how to pay barrier, which is one of the biggest obstacles to riding transit. Often we are asked, how do you pay? What do I do when I get on board? And if we can provide another way to do that very easily, I think we have an opportunity to increase transit and get more people out there and comfortable with riding transit. It will speed up boarding, hopefully, just by tapping. You can tap, gives you the okay, and then you sit, and the bus can keep going. And I think another benefit is it offers this familiar retail payment experience. I think if you think about it, you go to a Starbucks or something, you can pay it in so many different ways. They have an app. You can load gift cards on the app. You can load your debit card on the app. If you're not into apps, you can still tap a credit card on the reader or give them cash. So it really is just a familiar way for people to use transit. And then under benefits and opportunities, I listed both. It can provide a seamless intercity, inter-county travel. And by that, I mean that we have been awarded funding from SCAG through the Regional Early Action Planning Program to implement this countywide after the intercity project. So that would share the same backend system, same readers, and everything would be identical. People would tap on board a VCTC bus, and they can tap that same credit card on a Simi Valley bus, for instance. And then in inter-county, our neighbors to the north, Santa Barbara MTD, and then SPCAG and their Clean Air Express are already using open loop payments. So you can truly travel using you can from Simi Valley to an intercity bus to an MTD bus to a Clean Air Express, all using a credit card, right? You don't have to worry about knowing what the fare is or how to pay. And hopefully, like I said, all of this, this program would lead to increased transit ridership. So a quick project timeline. So if the commission approves this project, we're looking to launching officially by March. So between now and March, we'll be configuring those readers and installing them, configuring the back-end system, testing it, and then doing a soft launch and going live. And then hopefully in April, after we have implemented on the intercity system, we can explore going countywide with it. So the recommendations are to approve 5-year contract with Cuba for the readers, approve 5-year contract with the processor for the back-end system, the fare calculator with Inghouse, and then authorize the executive director to execute a 5-year contract with Elevon at a future date, which is a payment processor that allows the banks to talk to each other. So those are the recommendations. And if there's any questions about this project, because the next slide I was going to start talking about are other transit technology projects that we have.
Any questions at this point? Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you. So we will be implementing the fare capping with this?
It has the ability to, yes. It won't be initial. So this is like an intercity project. So we're going to set it up, test it, make sure it works, and then yes, we will introduce fare capping.
Hey, why don't you explain what fare capping is and how it's so very different from I don't think Starbucks offers anything like a fare capping program. but could you please explain it?
Yes. So use an example. It is kind of complicated to explain, but essentially it caps the number. It caps the amount that a passenger would have to pay if they are using the transit system over and over again. So basically, currently at a certain transit agency, they may offer a discounted pass for 15 rides, but it may be a higher cost, and some people can't pay that cost. So instead, the system tracks how many times you are tapping, and once you reach that limit of a certain pass, it'll cap the passenger's fare paid, and they can continue to ride without paying any more. So there's different ways of fare cap. You can do a daily use, week, month, you can run the gambit of all the different scenarios you can do with that.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Lopez?
Thank you. Thank you for the information. I have 2 questions. One, because I'm not sure with the devices, sometimes the tapping doesn't work. So does it have the capacity to insert a card?
No, it does not. The cards have to have that symbol, the tap to pay symbol on the card. We are trying to future-proof it, so the readers will come with a camera that they can scan QR codes. So that kind of goes beyond the scope of that initial rollout, but we are planning to make the readers be able to develop different types of passes or alternatives for people to use those on those readers. If the card does not work, there's not much the driver can do in that situation. So
Okay, yeah, I just bring it up because I know, sometimes I use the tapping on my cards, and there's some devices where certain cards do work, or it, for whatever reason, just is disabled. So just wanted to bring that up because I was looking at the pictures, I couldn't tell if you could insert the card, so.
No, and that's a really good point. We are learning a lot about scheme fees and all the interchange fees that different credit cards charge. These devices are pretty simple. If you have that tap to pay symbol, it will work. And so right now, MasterCard and Visa will be accepted. Discover is coming on later. And I think we have to make a decision about American Express cards, but it's kind of into the weeds on all the different cards that are accepted and everything like that. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Just thought I'd bring it up because
Sure.
Just in case that comes up, if there's a plan, just a response for someone who may not have any other resources on hand. So,
Sure.
And the second question: will this be available in all transit vehicles, including paratransit vehicles?
No, it will not be included in paratransit vehicles initially. So the project before you is only for intercity bus fleet, the big blue buses. After that, we will be exploring implementing it countywide on all of the fixed route transit vehicles, but not into dial ride vehicles. And that enters a kind of a complicated subject. Basically, reader type payments are very hard to put in dial ride vehicles because of data streams in the GTFS that I mentioned earlier. It's hard because they're not on a fixed schedule and a fixed route. It's very difficult to figure out how much to charge an individual. It relates to the fare structure out here as well. But we've already been talking with Cal ITP on options and like figuring out a way to do that because we've heard from you all that that's important. So we are working on it. We're trying to figure out a way to do that. I will say though that this is a good segue into the next on the update. Under projects and planning and implementation phase, the demand response scheduling, dispatching, and passenger app, we are deploying this countywide through a company called Rideco, and it is a dial-a-ride app for paratransit ADA passengers as well as general purpose, and you can pay with a credit card through the app. So there will be a way for people to pay with their credit cards on dial-a-ride soon.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions? Or Commissioner Francina?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So we have a closed loop system called the UMO or VC bus pass system. And when, patrons board and it doesn't work or the reader is not working, our policy is to wave them on. Yeah. It's like, sure. Yeah, I'm looking over at my transit director here to see if she can provide some better answer than I could about free fares and such.
Yes, that's a great point. Right now, how the Youth Ride Free program works, you just get on the bus if you look, 18 or younger, basically. The operators can ask for ID, and I think, when they're kind of in high school age, they probably do, because for the college ride program, you have to show your college ID. So we want to make sure we're counting those passengers correctly. They are paid for by a grant, but at this point, we had so many grant funds pulled up from during the pandemic when we weren't charging fares, that now this program has gotten so successful that it is more expensive than the funds that we have available. And unfortunately, we only have a certain type of funds that are available for these. So that is what exactly we're exploring for next year. This program is the youth ride in particular is very, very easy to use. We wanted to have no barriers. It's really a promotion to get people back on the bus. It's obviously become so successful that in the future, that's exactly what we're kind of thinking about. I think Orange County has a good model where students have to sign up. So you can get more data on them for that. But through Youth Ride in particular, we're using grant funds, College Ride using grant funds, so it does pay for the programs. But yes, overall, the fares do pay for more than what these systems cost. Also, we generally get grant funds to implement them, so that really goes a long way. So the fares certainly pay for more than the ongoing fees, and so it is worth it for that perspective. But yes, I mean, your point is well taken that it's certainly a cost in terms of the cost it's taking from the fares, but also staff time with so many different operators. It really does take a lot of work to disperse the funds and all of those, and that manner. And there's so many different types of programs that we have, as Matt is explaining, that trying to simplify all of that and make sure our technology is current, but that long term we have something that is less complicated than what we have now.
Oh, no other questions. I'll just real quick to say that, so we've recently completed these 3 projects and they're in the maintenance phase, and that's the real-time vehicle location system. It's a countywide system. All the buses in the county have GPS devices inside that track their location. Public data is available so that people can track their buses. Real-time bus arrival signs throughout the county. There's about 40 of those. They're spread out all over the county. At bus stops so people can see the next bus. VC Bus Pass, I mentioned earlier, is our closed loop system, meaning it's an account-based style system where you have to purchase a card, get an app, take steps in order to load funds onto another app or card to use on board our buses. I'll just say one quick, real neat benefit of the open loop is that it doesn't tie up your funds, so that you can use those funds anywhere. Basically, if you load a card with money, you can only use that card on transit. And so if you load $50 into a card and now you're stuck with $50 on a card you may or may not use, right? So open loop provides a very similar payment process, but doesn't tie up your funds with like specific transit use. In the planning phase and implementation, as I mentioned, we have a RideCo system, which is this demand response scheduling, dispatching passenger app. We are replacing all of the fare boxes throughout the county because people will always pay cash. So we need to do those. They're obsolete. We talked about the credit card and debit card. And then lastly is this live transit scheduling information on Google Maps. So through the real-time vehicle location project, it provides live transit information that you can put on Google Maps. I think last commission meeting, I believe, we were talking about a single app for trip planning and everything like that. This provides a real easy way that we can just use whatever is out there already. It's, Google Maps is ubiquitous. It's the most popular trip planning app out there. If we can just get our live schedule information on it, I think that kind of removes our responsibility, kind of lowers costs, and allows people to, continue to use Google Maps to plan their trips, whether it's biking or train or the transit or driving. So that's a real quick synopsis of those other programs we have going right now.
Any questions on that? Okay, we have, again, 3 recommended actions. Is there any motion?
Johnson.
Okay, first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Mattis, do we have a general counsel report this morning? Okay, the agency reports should go pretty quick since we have some absences. So I think we're going to go straight to the California Association of Council of Governments. Commissioner Johnson?
No.
Okay. And Vanpool, Commissioner White?
Yes, real quick, you all heard the presentation in the public comment by Jeff Lambert, and that's going to make a huge difference for those people over there. So I was really glad to see that happen, and this all happened through CalVans. Our next meeting is going to be November 14th. Just a bit of information on miles traveled in August. I don't know how many people think these vans get around and how they get around and how far they get around. But in the month of August, they traveled over 150,000 miles. And that's a lot of people using CalVans to get around instead of their own cars. So it was nice to hear about that. So thank you very much, and that's it.
Okay. Thank you. That takes us to the end of our agenda. So our next meeting is Friday, December 6th. Hope everyone has a great election day, Thanksgiving, and we'll see everyone in December. We're adjourned.